Welcome to This Team is Killing Us, a podcast about what the Carolina Panthers do to good people. She is Lauren Brownlow. I am Dimitri Ravanos. And what is killing me today, Lauren, is it feels like we are going out of our way to find reasons to hate a couple that is already very easy to dislike if you're a Panthers fan.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, too. If ever there's a chance to throw some blame at a woman, society's going to take it.
So I think that specifically where that amps up from 10 to 11, because I agree with you, is when you are talking about the rich wife of a rich man. And listen, there is plenty of reason to dislike the Teppers. I don't think there is very much redeeming about them at all. But this video that is going around that is suggesting that Nicole Tepper made or influenced the pick for the Panthers in the first round of the NFL draft is a little bit silly. I'm going to play the clip for you. And part of the reason that it is so silly is what I'm going to play for you is the entire clip. Okay? This is what we heard or saw on social media.
He's like, would you trade up for the guy that I like? I said, yeah.
Would I trade up for, then she doesn't say the name, and then whoever asking her off screen says, what did you say? And she said, for the guy that I like, I said yes. That's the entire video clip we have. There is no added context to it. Look, the Teppers, the way they treat the city of Charlotte, the way they go about controlling, we all have a public safety alert.
Yeah, I was okay, boy, oh boy.
The way they go about their business as owners of the Panthers, there is enough to make us sort of turn our noses up at them.
Yeah, I mean, there was already enough when you were hearing about both of them, by the way.
Yes.
And thankfully, at least her husband got most of the blame for that, as he should have. But when they were basically like, oh, we met with Bryce and basically acting like it was vibes. The intimation being it was more like he seemed great. It's like, you know what? A lot of people seem great. It doesn't mean I want them for my quarterback because of their vibes specifically. Right. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that can't be an enhancement. And I'm not saying Bryce wasn't highly regarded for other reasons, but that was almost the reason they made it seem like, which people were kind of not sure that I just want your instincts being the one about this guy's character, being the one to decide that's the you know what I mean? It's almost like they're looking for the chosen one or something. I've been too into the Game of Thrones mythology lately because House of the Dragon is peaking right now. It's so great. But either way, it's like that. It's like rich people being like, well, this person just gave me kingly vibes. And it's
I do like the idea of kingly vibes around Bryce Young in a meeting.
Well, and no offense to Bryce, who seems lovely. Kingly vibes aren't something I would get off of him in particular, but you know what? That's okay. We can't all be, as we've often seen in those shows, being the king will get you killed.
As I have said before, I do think Dave would like for the Charlotte public to view Nicole as like Teen Mom almost, right? He would like for there to be some sort of mythology around the Tepper family. And look, I think for going back to what you said about
there is mythology, it's just not good.
Right. Well, that's what I was about to say. I think going back to your point about anytime there's a chance to pick on a woman, we tend to take it. I do think it is largely accepted by this fan base that Dave is the one that is embarrassing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I agree.
I don't think Nicole Tepper does not give off cool vibes at all, but I don't think she's dumb. I don't think there's no reason to think that she is any more objectionable than the guy throwing water on the peasants in Florida.
And I was going to say, if there's, he wants them to be her to be viewed as Teen Mom and viewed in all these positive ways. Maybe he should stop acting like an asshole in public. Right. That'd be my suggestion. You know what I mean? Because women fair, like women unfairly often, but it still is just a reality, are often grouped in with their men, because it's like, even if you're not like that guy, you made the choice, right?
Right.
That ignoring a whole lot of societal whatever else, but we won't go into that. But like, you made that choice to continue to like stand by that man and be with that man, right?
Yeah.
So even sometimes when women are like done wrong and cheated on and all this other stuff, like if they stand by their man, like they're the jerk. You know, they're somehow worse than the man, because they will stick by the bad behavior. And so like, by association, man, she may not be as loved. And I don't know much about her at all. So I don't I don't feel like that's necessarily fair. And certainly based on that clip, it's like, that's it. Yeah. It's like you said, like, that's it. That I would have expected something far more egregious based on like even just the Bryce Young rumor alone.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I want to expand this from Nicole, from the Teppers in general, just to like national media wise. Have we gone too far in the Panthers are hopeless narrative? Like, I get it didn't come out of nowhere, but this feels like just looking for the easy bucket content.
Well, again, like that's what, God bless David Tepper. That's what he continues to provide people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not him alone. Like, obviously this was a little bit blown up, like you said, but the reason it was blown up is because of how he is. Yeah. So like, he did this. This is his fault. This is his doing. And the reason people look at this organization as if it were a clown organization is because they feel as if it is being run by a literal clown.
Yeah, I think that obviously firing a coach after less than a full season, let's not mince words. Bryce's rookie year was bad. Like there is a lot of reasons.
And when you put yourself and your wife like so behind that, and like we are convinced this is right, and then it like it for myriad of reasons doesn't go well. Like people are going to be like, hey man.
Yeah, I look at, and look, the news cycle moves fast. That might explain why we are where we are. But like, didn't we just have a month of talking about how incompetent the Falcons were? Didn't we just see Sean Payton run Russell Wilson? And granted, that was not working. I'm not saying he should have held on there, but didn't we just see him run Russell Wilson out of town for Bo Nix? I mean, there are plenty of examples of incompetence around this league. It does not feel like, hell, there are plenty of examples of incompetence around this team. You do not have to invent one.
No, you definitely do not have to invent them. There are plenty, and there will be plenty more when football starts to be played. Like, I am dreading.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm calling it right now. I know we focus on the Panthers, but Bo Nix will be what gets Sean Payton fired in Denver. Calling it now. Everyone,
if Lord willing, couldn't happen to a more deserving dude.
Speaking of Bryce Young, did you see Joe Person's report in The Athletic? Or no, I'm sorry, this is not Joe Person from The Athletic. This was actually on the Panthers website. The discussion with Nate Carroll, the passing game coordinator, as well as Dave Canales, the head coach, about the way they are going about getting Bryce into that mode of what Dave Canales said in his introductory press conference of getting the ball out in 2.7 seconds.
Yeah. I like that. That's good, because Lord knows he's going to need to do that.
Yeah.
It's nice to see like offensive staff speak with some knowledge of sort of like the reality of what the situation is here a little bit, because we've definitely seen enough concerning stuff about like the O-line before that. So the fact that they know he's going to have to get it out really fast and they're working with him on that specifically is definitely good. It was obviously a big issue all year. So, good Lord willing, let's hope he can do that a little bit better than maybe he was able to at times last year, when it was like the processing speed was just a little slow, like a tick.
Well, listen, I thought that the conversation with Nate Carroll was really enlightening, because it was more about the specifics, and we'll get into Bryce's feet here in a second, but it was more about the specifics of what needs to happen to get the ball out that quick and not just he's got to make the decision and throw. Carroll says it is all about the feet, that the way you move your feet changes everything in terms of how you can get the ball out. It says that he has seen major changes from Bryce based on the film he watched of the 2023 season and what he has seen in practice right now. That is great. But, Lauren, as I have said a million times, minicamp is for the rosiest of outlooks on everything.
I mean, listen, when you and I have covered football for a long time, and I in particular have gone to so many of those, like at least the collegiate ones, the collegiate like fall training camps.
Yeah.
Everyone's in the best shape of their life. You do like 3 or 4 like strength and conditioning makeover stories. You do like, oh, look out for this guy. And sometimes guys are right. You know what I mean? Like every now and then they'll give you a dude like that they're like, this dude is like beasting us all in practice. Like you won't even believe it. And then he does like end up being that guy. But sometimes you're like, oh, and then that guy ends up doing nothing. And you're like, well, what happened to that guy? You know, it's just, you can't count on it.
Have you ever been to, this is going to make you so mad. Have you ever been to a college coach's like understanding football for women kind of camps?
Oh yeah. Well, so, okay. I've been to a couple of those, but I've been to probably, Duke used to do like a football 101 for media, like not for media, like 101. It's not exactly like that. It was like getting deeper inside. And so they would always have like a position coach, including then grad assistant who would go on to become one of their defensive coordinators, Matt Guerreri. He was like breaking down tape with us, and David Cutcliffe came in and like broke down tape with us. And that was insanely helpful and great. And really the 101 things aren't as like condescending as you would think necessarily.
Yeah.
At least the ones I went to, because like one of the ones I went to was run by Dawn Bunting. So like Dawn Bunting does not mess around. Like Dawn Bunting is not going to talk down to the women in that room about football. Like she knows her stuff. And so like, you know, but you do see the ones where they're like, they have the players coming. It's almost like weirdly like, it's like this weird ladies' night where like they're like hooting and hollering for the players too. It's like kind of uncomfortable. Like it can be kind of uncomfortable depending on the vibes, you know, and like how sexist the coach is and how sexist the, you know, the fan base is.
No, I attended one of the most condescending
well, yeah, you're in
for
SEC
women.
country. So.
Oh no, Lauren. Oh no, not SEC country. One William Datboy or Dabo.
Oh, okay, yeah. I've heard that about those. About
I mean, they're condescending, but honestly, it is played to what the type of woman that goes to that event expects, right? Maybe not is looking for, but certainly expects. But what I was going to bring up is everything there is broken down as if like, well, an idiot could see this. And it's so funny to kind of read Nate Carroll talk about this, not in a similar way, but in a way like, this is what this dude does. And if he says the footwork is the thing they need to work on with Bryce, I totally get it. And it makes me wonder, as much as we made a joke out of was Bryce too short this week, it makes me wonder if he needed some special attention to his footwork because of what he has to do to get a clean line of sight to his receivers.
That's interesting. And I don't know I wonder what the conventional wisdom is on like, you know, they say certain things about a quarterback are more malleable than others. I would assume footwork is maybe one of those that's a little more malleable. But you never know, because there are some things that they're like, well, if this guy is this way, it's too bad. Like accuracy, I know they say is one that like you can improve somewhat, but you're not going to get like way better at that necessarily. And that's harder to do. But yeah, you would think footwork, because that's just something, but it is still something that you have to like learn and be able to deploy when you can't use your entire brain, you know, like when the fear of an on-rushing defender suddenly like takes half your brain power away and you're like, ah! So like,
especially if you're in Bryce's shoes and it's an unchecked rushing defender.
You have to have it become instinctual and just something you do all the time, and something that hopefully will help you, even if, like you said, like the unrushed or the unblocked defender comes charging in, and you have sometimes you don't have a choice and you just have to let the ball go. And I think, I'm sure they're working with him on that too, because that was really my biggest critique with him at times, is that he would sometimes you just got to chuck it away, dude. Like, you can't, like, who are you going to try to force something to on this roster right now? Like, come on.
Right. What is interesting, I want to give the writer of the piece, Cassidy Hill, credit here. A, because she did the work, but B, one of the things she did that I thought was like, it gave me some confidence in the staff is she showed how under Canales' coaching, Russell Wilson's release time came down.
That's great.
Baker Mayfield's release time came down. And when, at least Russell, when he was gone, when Canales was gone, his release time shot back up. So it is the kind of thing where, like, this is obviously something that Canales and maybe this entire coaching staff really puts in like the A1 position for quarterbacks. It's going to be in Bryce's ear all season long, and it's going to be a focus of how you go about improving one of the worst offenses in the NFL last season.
And listen, like when Baker left the Panthers, remember how many, like he like set some kind of dubious record about like balls batted down at one point. I remember that. And I remember being like, he's going to suck so much in Tampa and being so happy about it because I am a petty queen. But like to see the way he played in Tampa, like so much, I mean, it was night and day. And so like, that is something that obviously none of us want to get too optimistic, myself included. And I understand we have to protect our hearts. However, like that is something that you can at least tangibly point to for sure and go like, think about how much this guy blew when he was here.
Yeah.
And like, look at what they were able to do. And like, yes, there are certain improvements elsewhere in Tampa as well, like weapon wise, whatever, but like still it wasn't that much better to where like you can't expect some reasonable improvement. And that I think is reason enough for some optimism.
Listen, I've told you, I think it was on the show that I told you this. Maybe it was just you and I talking, but signing Baker Mayfield is what made it easy for me to cut the cord with the Buccaneers. Because it is, to me, at least when they signed him, it was the ultimate, well, we're not trying, but we're also not tanking. Like it was the ultimate sign of like 8 and 9 is just fine by us going forward. So it made it very easy to make the switch to Bryce and the Panthers. Don't forget that. Well, yeah, I'm not saying I have enjoyed the first season of the switch, but it is what it is. All right, don't forget that the Sports Podcast Festival now just over a month away, happening at the Rialto on August 24th. Tickets are on sale right now. I'm going to make this easy for people and just direct them to the Shutdown Fullcast site, preownedairboats.com. You can get the link to buy the tickets there. I will be on stage. Lauren will be on stage throughout the night, but the lineup is the OG, Hand in the Dirt with our friend Michael Felder, and the Shutdown Fullcast headlining the night. So if you do not already have your tickets, get them now because it is the only way to get the very cool, very exclusive home field hoodie, which we debuted last week.
Very exciting.
Yes, created by our friend Anna Casano from Sound Off Hi-Fi in downtown Raleigh. Also,
Sound Off rules. Sorry.
Yes, Sound Off.
I love Sound Off.
Don't forget that you need to do us a favor, like and subscribe to this show and leave a review. It is how more Panthers fans across the world find This Team Is Killing Us, so that we can all have a big group therapy session each and every week. So whether it is on YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform, leave us a rating and a review to help spread the word about This Team Is Killing Us. Lauren, we have another turnover in the front office as Adrian
Sorry,
Wilson.
I was like, you triggered me. You just said another turnover.
Sorry.
Wow.
Adrian
what
Wilson.
now? We're not playing.
Well, yeah, that is until the 2024 season actually kicks off. It is still the 2023 season, and turnovers will happen whether you have the ball or playing football or not. That is just sort of what happens with the Carolina Panthers. Adrian Wilson, VP of Player Personnel, out after just over a year on the job. The Panthers are being very tight-lipped about this. I'm not sure exactly what this means other than it's another short stay for someone in a key position in the front office.
Yeah, and from what I remember about him as a player, like he played a long time. I'm sure like well respected and around football and everything else, considering he's so old. From what I remember of him, he's so old that like I used to have him on my defensive fantasy team back when that was a thing.
Yeah.
You could have like 3 defensive players.
Yeah. 8 years with the Arizona Cardinals. I'm sure he played elsewhere as well, but he's a member of that team's
really good for
Ring of Honor. Yes. Very good. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
The Panthers are tight-lipped, so there is nothing really to read into here. Is the panic again more of it's just easy to pile on this team? This kind of seems like what happens when an internal candidate that's not you gets the promotion.
Yeah, I mean, that's not that I was going to say, like, that explanation makes as much sense to me as anything else. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't like, it's like we said earlier, right, with the Nicole Tepper thing. Like, there's enough like tangible stuff to look at and go, oh God, the house is on fire.
Right.
I mean, unless he comes out and says something, I don't know that there's any reason to like assume that this is anything like troubling until it is.
Yeah, and let's be fair to Adrian Wilson. He was not a figurehead by any stretch. He was wanted, or at least was interviewed for the Jaguars GM position before they hired Trent Baalke.
I'm sure he's really good at it. Like,
he has a deep scouting background, so clearly he had responsibilities in the front office. It just might be the kind of thing where, when the other guy is picked for an internal promotion, you realize there's a ceiling you're never going to get past. And if this is a dude that has interviewed for GM positions before, like
that's the part, right?
Obviously intends on doing it again.
And maybe he just, maybe he wants something a little higher up next time, but like maybe not even GM, but like something at least like, directly. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it could just be he wants something like that and whatever. I mean, I get it. We've all been there. So
yeah,
it's fine. No big deal.
I incorrectly attributed the conversation about the Panthers passing game with Nate Carroll to Joe Person. I had that article confused with one in The Athletic that came out way back on June 20th, a conversation with JonathanMingo. Have you read this, Lauren?
I have not, because I cannot afford the New York Times. No.
Understood. You know what? We will slyly share a password going forward. The conversation with Mingo is wide ranging, and JonathanMingo seems like a guy that has been through media training ever since he stepped foot on an SEC campus, because he does not give a whole lot away. However, one thing that I found really interesting is he says that he felt like, as much as the foot was bothering him and he had surgery in the offseason, we did sort of see him come on and be at his best at the end of the season. And what struck me about that is I find it hard to believe, or if it is true, I'm very concerned that Mingo was satisfied with what we saw at the end of the season as his best. Like, individual plays, we saw some great stuff, but we never saw him.
It was like, but when those things happened, it was a sense of like, oh, finally. Like,
right.
Yeah. But it wasn't like, I don't know. I don't think he ever got to the point where he's like taking over a game or anything like that.
No,
like,
100%. In fact, at that time that he says he's come on also kind of happened to coincide with when DJ Chark became a little bit more reliable.
Yep.
And so, honestly, I kind of confuse which plays Mingo made and which plays Chark made, because they're very much in the same mold.
Because I'm like, I don't remember. Like, I remember a couple, but I'm like, wait, what are we banking on here exactly? Because I don't remember like a ton. I mean, granted, to be fair, like by the end of the year, it's like a unpleasant fever dream, but at the same time, like, I don't remember a whole lot that I'm like, oh yeah, great. Like, I really don't. Like, I mean, like, I'm sure that there were like, I know he made plays later in the year, because I remember how frustrated I was with him like the first half of the year.
Right. During the first half of the year, I think you and I made the comment that he can get separation, he can catch the ball, he cannot do the two at the same time on any play that he's out there.
I mean, like, no offense to his foot. Like, I know the foot thing can impact all of it, like your timing, your rhythm, all of it. So I'm half joking when I'm like, right, the foot injury, but what about your hands?
Right.
Your hands are my concern.
Yeah. He's some other, I'm just going to give you some quick comments he made. He said that he really does like the way the wide receiver room has been rebuilt. He thinks it will benefit him. I suppose that means moving from the number 3 to the number 4 option, like he recognizes might be the best way for him to grow right now. But he did go out of his way to say that the best thing is that Adam Thielen is still there, that he's a positive influence on everybody. Hayden, he was asked about Hayden Hurst comments that the team did Bryce Young no favors with the constantly changing which voice is in his ear, both as the play caller and as the most influential person in his development. Mingo says, yes, that is true, but that is not, that's not enough to say, hey, that was the main reason for the results you saw last year. And here's the interesting one, Lauren. They asked him if there was a play in a game that he remembers the ball going to someone else that he thought that if that were mine, that could have been a better result. And he didn't really name a play, but he said, look, there are 4 things that have to happen for the ball to come your way as a receiver. One of them is protection. So here it is. You could have good protection, but it might not be the right coverage. You can't do anything about that. You've got other people who might be open. It's a lot of things. I don't blame nobody. I don't point fingers. I point the finger at myself, know the things that I could have been better at. I'm going to improve on. I know I've made some strides to become a better receiver, and I hope everybody sees that this year.
Okay, so I have a question. Yes. Is this wrong of me? That on its face, just perfectly lovely, like very accountable and intelligent quote. But does that sound like a wide receiver to you?
No, I mean, it doesn't sound like the diva.
That's concerning to me. Yeah. I'm concerned. Like you have to think that you are the shit no matter what, that you need every ball coming to you because you're going to catch them all. You have to be completely self-deluded. Right?
Do you think it is
for the most part? There are exceptions, but
but do you think this is an offshoot of that? Do you think that this is sort of like, look, obviously it was coming to me, but what if these 4 things went wrong? That's the only reason the ball didn't come to me.
It doesn't give that energy, does it?
Okay.
I
need
my wideouts to be passive aggressive AF and be like, well, you're open a lot, but you can't expect the ball to come to you on every play. Sometimes things break down or the quarterback doesn't. That is a passive aggressive, I'm still the shit, you should still throw to me quote, not like, well, a number of things go wrong. Yeah, I know that shit. So does everyone else. You need to know that you should get the ball every damn time. And if you don't believe that, I'm just like, not necessarily, like there is a part of me that slightly concerns me. I will be honest. Maybe I'm too old school with the way I view my wide receivers, and I like my Ocho Cincos and T.O.s of the world because let's be honest, like those dudes, they believed they were the absolute shit. Right. They should always get the football, and more often than not, they were right. And receivers are that way, defensive backs are that way. Like no one else would finger wag when they're down 50 or whatever it is because a quarterback overthrew their dude. That is DB land. They are both that's the beauty of those positions. You have to be able to kind of move on to the next and be completely self-deluded as to your own grandeur.
I do not point this out like to call JonathanMingo stupid. I just think this is a delightful thing that happened. He told us there were 4 things that agreed. He told us there were 4 things that need to happen, and he named 2. I really.
To be fair, maybe he just starts listing them and then forgets.
That's definitely. That's
I do
definitely
that all the
what
time.
happened.
I'll be like, I've got 3 things to say, and I'll say 1.5, and then stop.
Or here's the other part. Maybe the other 2 things have to do with the quarterback, and he wasn't going to throw Bryce under the bus like that.
Yep. I mean, let's be honest. Quite literally, it has to do with the quarterback, right?
Well, look, I mean, he said protection was one of them. That is alluding to the offensive line. So, of course, at least one of them has to do with someone that is not you, the wide receiver, or you, the wide receiver unit.
The quarterback has to go through progressions, right? And if
I was about to say, yeah, exactly. I was about to say the quarterback has to see you, has to be one of them.
Yeah, pretty much. That's literally one of them. So maybe like you said, maybe he just didn't want to throw him under the bus and whatever. And he has to see you, and he has to believe. He also has to believe that you're going to come through for him.
Right.
And to Bryce's credit, he didn't shy away from going to Mingo, and that's probably why Mingo wants to protect him some too. He never shied away from it.
I thought it was clear in the preseason that the coaching staff wanted those 2 to develop together because as little as we saw Bryce throw in the preseason, an inordinate amount of balls went to Mingo in the preseason.
Were they caught? Not really, but
not always.
They tried it.